Hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco here from Macabre Daily, and I am excited today because I'm joined by filmmaker Jonathan Zaurin, who is one who wears many hats. He's helped produce some of the special features for some of our favorite physical media labels like Severin Films and Arrow Video. Personally loved your Cell special features you put
Oh,
together.
thank you.
And he also has created a series of shorts and features of his own. His most recent film, Derelict, is now available from Miracle Media on VOD, but you can get it on physical media from 101 Films the 22nd of September. And as you can see behind me, physical media is king. Jonathan, thank you so much for taking some time to speak with me.
Oh, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Derelict was so I don't want to call it a fun film because I don't think that's the right word for it, but I was
Oh,
supremely entertained and engrossed in the narrative. So congratulations first and
thank
foremost on
you.
it.
That's great. Yeah.
And I'm curious to know a little bit more about the inspiration for it because if I read correctly, I think it's kind of somewhat pulled from actual your background.
Yeah. So I grew up. I grew up in a town in France, and um, when I was around 19, this is a very small town, but working class, industrial. And when I was around 19, there was this horrendous murder that happened, and it was shocking on its own, but then the reason it appealed to me so much is I went to school with one of the people that committed the murder,
Oh
and
wow.
it became very tricky for me to kind of reconcile the kid I thought I knew with the way that they had killed this guy because. So I'm trying to say without saying too much for people who haven't seen the film, but the set piece, the middle set piece of the film, is basically the way it really happened. So the entire violence, the graphic details, etc., is exactly what had happened.
Wow.
So I've kept that pretty much intact. I changed everything else. So the character of Abby and the revenge and all that never happened, but that part of the film is based on true event. And then I always thought it would make a good film, but then over time, some stuff happened in my life, and a significant thing that happened is that my father came out as gay, and we realized he had been living his life as a closeted homosexual, um, which also made us realize he'd been hiding his true self from us. And so we had to relearn to love and know each other, which we did. But the detail was that the man that he was entertaining a love affair with was the third brother of the two that committed that atrocious murder. And so I started thinking, well, it could have been my dad because the reason behind the crime is so petty and so small. The one detail I didn't keep from the actual murder is that they killed this man for his money and he only had about 250 quid, you know.
Yeah.
And so they ended up buying cigarettes and renting a film, and they murdered a man, brutally murdered a man for that reason. And so I started thinking it could have been my dad. And I researched the victims and I researched the case. And the thing that appeared to me is that immediately when you looked at these people, you felt like life had been drained from them since this thing happened. They never got over it. They're still thinking about it. They'll never get over it. They're broken forever. And so I started thinking about how do I create this film that has those kind of conflicting empathies between the perpetrators and the victims, and how do we work this thing so that the audience feels exactly the same way. So the film could only be successful if the audience felt the way I felt about that kid and the way I felt about the victims as well.
Well, I think you do. I mean, having not been familiar with the inciting incident in case, I think from, my objective perspective, I think you did a really good job of
No, thank you.
making that, a gray area, right? It's not like there's a binary good and bad, so to
No,
speak. Is that you really do feel for most of these characters, and whether you agree with them or not, you kind of understand at least how they're coming to this.
that's right.
Um, and there's an intentional use of black and white throughout the film.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, why was that aesthetic choice important as part of kind of the story you're trying to tell?
So for me, I mean, for me, I loved the language of film. Okay, I think a lot of people talk about film and they only talk about plot. And it's like, well, if we're only talking about plot, you might as well read the back of the Blu-ray and you've got what you need there. But if you love film, then you love the film language, you love the cinematic language. And so I started thinking about the way that black and white is encoded in most modern films. And it's like, well, it's the past.
Hmm.
And I thought, yeah, we all accept that. When you see a flashback in black and white, you go, "Oh, it's the past." And I started thinking, well, yeah, but surely, there are other ways of using the black and white. And I started thinking about it strongly when I decided to rewatch Park Chan-wook's Lady Vengeance. But I watched the director's cut, and the director's cut is brilliant because as the film delves into the darkest shades of humanity, it loses its color. And I
It
thought that
does.
is a brilliant concept. But I also thought, okay, it's great, but you can't really do it the same way. Because first of all, you're not Park Chan-wook. You don't want to be compared to Park Chan-wook. So I thought, okay, well, how can I encode the black and white as the life of these people is now void of color? And that's kind of where we found the structure of the film as well. So the reason the film is out of sequence is because it's actually acts. The film works centered around the main event that has changed these people's lives in a way that isn't fixable. So it's until they decide to. It's very difficult to talk without spoiling, isn't it? Until they
Yeah,
decide to make the right choice and go back on a path where they could possibly find some redemption, their life is going to remain void of color. And we thought about it extensively, and it ended up the sequences in black and white were noted in the script, and the sequences in colors were noted in the script. And then the point where things move from black and white to color or to color and black and white were also noted in the script, with the strict rule that it always had to change within the movement of the camera. Um,
that
I
really
think,
stands out in the scene where he opens the trunk, right? He goes out to
yeah,
his car. And I think that part right there is when, again, I didn't know what you were trying to allude to, but I think the way, as you say, kind of film as a language, you understand that this is intended to be something you're paying attention. This is a point of change. This is a transition or transitory
that's
period in
right.
this character's
He,
life.
he has a chance to walk away. He could walk
And
away,
yeah,
and he
and
doesn't.
we, yeah,
And
and
because he doesn't, his life changes dramatically. There's also the thing is when I was also aware you can't do something, you can't undo 70 years of something being encoded a certain way unless you give people the keys.
yep.
So we make sure we did. So the opening credits, is fairly significant in understanding how we use the black and white and the color, because the old family films are in color, and the shots of the body are in black and white. Something changed. What changed? Then there's also multiple references to the Wizard of Oz in there, which is, funnily enough, the Wizard of Oz is one of those films that doesn't encode black and white and color as present and past, which is quite interesting because it's
It's
a
more of a
classic
transition
of
between
fantasy.
worlds.
That's right. That's right. And I'll give you a little secret that I haven't told anybody. There's one shot that's in color in the film where it should logically not be, and I don't think I've seen anybody pick it up. And it's the moment where Abigail is talking to her uncle Henry, and she tells him, "Do you know what they did? They did this and they did that and they killed him." And when Mike, there's a flashback of Mike, and he pops into frame and he wipes his face and there's blood on it, and it's in color. And it shouldn't be in color because when we saw it previously, it's in black and white. But the reason it's in color is because Abby doesn't realize that his life changed to black and white at that stage as well. So when she imagines it as something completely different than what it is.
Wow.
That was the idea. And you try to layer your film with a lot of subtext, a lot of sub stories, so that if you just want to watch it, you can. But if you want to watch it and you want to dive into it and you want to look for meaning and you want to look for deeper things, they're all in there.
I mean, that's great art, right? I think great art is something that you can appreciate kind of at a deep level, but also at a kind of surface level.
Yeah,
And I think great films do just that, is that they invite your own interpretations, but they also allow you to enjoy it without having to preoccupy yourself with finding explicit meaning. I mean, the story serves itself, right? But I think
yeah,
you've elevated the viewing experience by giving people something to look for. And I know that you've been noted as saying you've discovered, when you discovered John Carpenter, that
hmm.
really kicked off a lot of, influences for you. And I'm curious to know, like, what was the inciting film that kind of really got you into Carpenter's world, and how did that affect you as a filmmaker?
Oh wow, that's a great question. What is the exciting film that got me into Carpenter's world? I think it was The Thing, but
Huh.
it's weird because it's not the full film. I was too young, but I was lucky to be born at a time where we still had video club, right?
Yeah.
We had video clubs, and also I grew up next to the Swiss border, so we used to get the Swiss channels, and every Saturday they would have the midnight movie, which accounts for a huge part of my culture. I think I discovered most horror classics on there. But this thing is an interesting one because I, I must have been maybe 5 or 6, way too young. But my dad had rented the VHS, and he called me in the front room. He said, "Oh, I want to show you something," and he showed me the bit where where they're all in a circle around this character with the and he's screaming with his fingers, my 6 year old me was like, "What the fuck is this?" And like, it
Thanks,
was
Dad.
traumatizing, but I loved it, and yeah, it started a long passion for horror. I don't think Derelict is necessarily a horror, but I think there are horror elements in it. But definitely my love for horror comes through in some aspects of the film. Um, and yeah, from there it's been a discovery of you know all genre of cinema, but with a particular emphasis on horror. I've always loved horror, and uh, yeah,
Was
John Carpenter is a horror hero. I yeah, I am is
he is
but the thing about Carpenter though is what I always insist on. Yeah, we keep saying, "Oh, the master of horror, John Carpenter." I think John Carpenter is a pure master of cinema, horror or no horror.
yes.
He is just the film language of John Carpenter is so sophisticated, and
He's not, I mean, I think people put him in that box because of his most famous films are in horror, but when you look at something like Big Trouble in Little China, it's most definitely not a horror film. It has fantastical elements in it,
yeah,
but it's not a horror film. You look at something like The Memoirs of an Invisible Man, it's
yeah,
absolutely not a horror movie. Starman's not a horror movie. So, but he succeeds because I think if you can tell good genre stories, you can tell good stories. Like
yeah.
there's no limit
I
there.
think the key to Carpenter is he understands that genre is basis to start from because it means you don't start on a blank slate. Your audience already knows what they're in for, so you can skip to the point almost, But he excels at so many genres. You talk about Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, the comedy timing in this movie is off the charts. It's so good. Every joke lands. I've seen this movie 250 million times. I've seen this film since I was 5 years old. I still laugh at every
Yeah.
joke. Yeah.
Every Jack Burton line is a quotable line, and the part where he clutches the bottle, I mean, everything about it is so perfect. And
Yeah.
I always tell people that if you don't, like, if you really want to understand why John Carpenter's great, watch Big Trouble in Little
Uh,
China in a crowded theater and just see how people react
yeah.
to everything that happened. And that movie's 30 plus, 40, almost 40 plus years old now.
Yeah.
So we've come a long way. And Jonathan, I know I've taken a little bit more of your time, but I
No,
want
no,
to
no, no,
say
no.
I
That's
could
cool. That's
continue
cool.
this conversation for in perpetuity, I'm sure,
Oh
because
yeah.
we have plenty to talk about. But I want to remind folks that you can watch the film now on VOD. The name's Derelict. You can get it on Blu-ray on September 22nd. And Jonathan, you've got a fan over here and myself and Macabre
Oh,
Daily.
thank
So
you.
looking forward
Appreciate it.
to whatever you're on working on next.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I what I have in the pipeline right now is a kind of modern reimagining of Frankenstein, but set in a criminal organization. So that's really all I can say
I'm
about
in. I'm in. You don't say no more. I am. You said Frankenstein and crime. I am in. So, Jonathan, enjoy basking in the completion of a film, and I hope
Oh,
you
thank
get
you.
more flowers for it. And looking forward to again,
I
the next
appreciate
film
it.
and so on and so forth.
Thank you so much.